You keep making excuses for how they treated you last night. You replay the fight in your head, but somewhere in the middle of replaying it, you start wondering if maybe you were the problem. Maybe you were too sensitive. Maybe you asked for too much. So you go quiet, you shrink. And then, because the guilt is unbearable, you apologize first, even though you were the one who was hurt. Here is what nobody talks about. The most dangerous part of a toxic relationship is not the person hurting you. It is the version of you that has learned to hurt yourself on their behalf. But what if the apologies you keep giving, the excuses you keep making, the shrinking you keep doing, what if those are not signs of your weakness? What if they are signs that you have been inside something that was slowly, quietly making you forget who you were? If you have ever felt more anxious in love than you feel at peace, this video was made for you. By the end of this, you will be able to name exactly what has been happening to you, understand why it felt so hard to see, and know with certainty that none of it was your fault. Let me paint a picture. You are about 10 years old. Someone in your home is unpredictable. Not always cruel, not always kind, just unpredictable. You never know which version of them is walking through the door, so you build a blueprint, a quiet, invisible blueprint for how to stay safe inside love. Watch their face, soften your voice, disappear when the air gets heavy. This blueprint was not weakness, it was survival, but you carried it into every relationship after that. And somewhere along the way, someone found that blueprint and used it. Here is what the science says before we go further. Dr. Judith Herman at Harvard University found that repeated relational stress, not single traumatic events, but ongoing emotional unpredictability, rewires how your nervous system responds to closeness. In plain words, your body stopped being able to tell the difference between love and danger. And Dr. Mario Mikulincer at Bar Ilan University found that people raised in emotionally inconsistent environments develop hyperactivated attachment systems. In plain words, you feel everything louder. The distance feels further. The silence feels heavier. So when someone in your life starts showing you these 7 signs, your nervous system does not always sound the alarm. Sometimes it just feels familiar. Sign 1. They make you feel like everything is your fault. Not sometimes, always. Every argument somehow circles back to something you did, something you said, something you should have known better than to feel. They never arrive at a fight and leave with any of the blame. You do, every time. Psychologists call this blame shifting. In plain words, it's when someone consistently redirects accountability onto you so they never have to sit with their own behavior. And the terrifying part is that after long enough, you start to believe them. You stop defending yourself. You start each conversation already prepared to apologize. Sign 2. They dismiss what you feel. You try to tell them something hurt you. They tell you you are overreacting, you are too sensitive, you are making a big deal out of nothing. Dr. John Gottman at the University of Washington spent 40 years studying relationships and identified contempt, in plain words, being made to feel small and irrational for having emotions, as the single most reliable predictor of a relationship breaking down. When someone consistently dismisses your feelings, they are not just being unkind, they are slowly teaching you that your inner world doesn't matter. Sign 3. You are always walking on eggshells. You think before every sentence. You monitor their mood before you speak. You know the difference between their silences, which one means they're fine, which one means something is coming. You are exhausted, not from the day, but from the constant invisible labor of managing another person's emotional weather while pretending everything is normal. That hypervigilance is not anxiety, it's a response to an environment that has trained you to stay alert. Sign 4. They isolate you. It happens slowly, so slowly you don't notice until you look up one day and realize everyone else is gone. It was never one dramatic moment, it was 100 small ones. A comment about your friend that made you see them differently. A mood that ruined every plan you tried to make.
a quiet preference for it to always just be the two of you. And because it felt like closeness at first, like they just loved you that much, you let the world outside get smaller and smaller. Sign 5. They gaslight you. You remember what happened, you were there, but they look at you with complete calm and tell you that's not what happened, that you imagined it, that you are remembering it wrong. And because they are so certain, so composed, you start to doubt yourself. This is gaslighting. In plain words, when someone systematically makes you question your own memory and perception until you can no longer trust yourself. The hollow feeling that follows is not confusion, it's the weight of someone else dismantling your reality piece by piece. Sign 6. The relationship runs in a cycle. Things get bad. Then they get very bad. Then suddenly, flowers, apologies, the person you first fell in love with, and you exhale. You think it's over. You think they have finally understood. But this cycle, tension, explosion, honeymoon, calm, is not love recovering. It's a pattern. Psychologists call it the cycle of abuse. In plain words, a loop designed, even unconsciously, to keep you attached just long enough to go through it all again. Sign 7. You have lost yourself. This is the one that is hardest to name because it didn't happen in a single moment. You used to have opinions. You used to have preferences. You used to know what made you happy without having to check whether it would make them happy first. But somewhere inside this relationship, the person you were before it started has become very quiet, very small, very unsure of whether they are even allowed to take up space anymore. Stay with me, because this is where it changes. But not everyone who recognizes these signs leaves immediately. And that doesn't make you foolish, it makes you human. Because mixed inside all of this was also real laughter, real warmth, real moments that made you believe it could be different. Ask yourself honestly, are you staying because it's getting better? Or are you staying because the good moments have become the reason you survive the bad ones? Now here is everything closing at once. The child who built that blueprint was not broken, they were brilliant. And the adult reading these signs right now is not weak, they are finally seeing clearly. You are not broken, not cold, armored, not running away, running towards something real, not lonely, selective, not unloved, unseen. And being unseen by the wrong person doesn't mean you're invisible to the right one. You deserve to take up the space that was always yours. You have always been enough. Recognizing these signs is not failure. It's the moment you chose yourself. And that's one of the quietly fiercest things a person can do. This is your sanctuary now. You are not alone in this. Drop one word in the comments that describes how you felt watching this. Just one word, and it will mean more than you think. And if you want to understand why you attract these dynamics in the first place, why certain people always seem to find you, that video is already waiting for you. Because the more you understand yourself, the harder it becomes for the wrong people to make you forget.